Hello everybody, I wanted to welcome you to my journey on setting up my first saltwater aquarium. I am currently planning on getting a Reefer 250 and I'm going to be following the Red Sea program for most everything just because I'm kind of OCD and I like to stick to one brand like that. If you want to come along and join me and see how I got to this point in the process, stay tuned. A bunch of packing. So the first item we got is the Red Sea Reef Mature Pro Kit. And the second item is the Marine Care Test Kit by Red Sea. And finally, last piece is an RO tubing cutter. And basically I got this a recommendation from Poultry Supply to make the cutting quite a bit easier for my RO unit. Alright, let's take a look at the second box and see what we got. So what we got here is some Red Sea Coral Pro Salt. And this is what I'm going to use in my tank because I'm looking for accelerated coral growth and I want it to get smaller enough so I can go ahead and start curing my live rock and just get the process started. Alright, so this is probably one of the boxes that I'm most excited about, and let's see if I can open it up and show you why. Looks like we got some compressed styrofoam. Alrighty. So we got a bit of paperwork. Yeah. This thing is pretty darn big. I wasn't expecting it to be quite this size. Alright, that's everything we got in here. Which this box was labeled 1 of 2, so I was expecting it to be the main body of my RODI unit, but it looks like it's actually the second part. So we got the deionization resin and the 2 canisters, and it looks like on here it looks like they actually stuck the TDS meter to the manual, so I'm not sure if we got another piece that we can use to attach it easily or what exactly we gotta do for that. So I guess in here must be the main piece that I'm looking for, and what I thought was in the box labeled 1 of 2. Alright, looks like we got some more of that, I believe it's called Smart Film. Seems to work pretty well, keeps everything nice and tidy. So here we got some of the accessories that come with the kit. Looks like we got all of the RO tubing as well as the main unit, and they are attached together. Let me get this big thing out of the way. Alrighty, I don't think there's anything else in here. Nope, just some more packaging. Let's set this aside. And here's the main unit. And as you can see, I did get the Water Saver Plus, and that's mainly just because I'm a very impatient man, so having the twice as much flow would be definitely very beneficial for me. And also they're running a sale, so it was quite a bit cheaper than it normally is, and that's one of the main reasons why I actually upgraded to the main unit, so I wouldn't have to worry about adding anything on later. Alright, so that's that unit. And let's take a look at some of the accessories that it comes with. First off, we got the float valve. So you can use this to actually hook it up to a container and have it automatically shut off whenever the container is full. Doesn't look like this is adjustable, but they seem to think that these fail often because there's no wing nut here to get corroded or anything like that. Next up, we got our filter wrench for taking these filters off once they've been on for a while, because they will be quite stuck on very good. Next, we got the chlorine test strips, and the main advantage they say of these is it'll tell you total and free chlorine, which allows you to see if your local water supply is treated with chlorines or chloramines. So, and it's also good to test about every 3 months for your carbon blocks to see if they're being depleted. Next up in here, they got the sink diverter valve, and this allows you to hook it up to your standard kitchen sinks or bathroom sinks. My kitchen sink actually has a sprayer built into the end, so it won't fit on my kitchen sink, but I'll probably be using this in the bathroom instead as a temporary setup. Next up is the garden hose fitting for the Murloc tubing, or not the RO tubing, where's the Murloc fitting. So you can actually screw this onto anywhere you would plug in a garden hose, such as utility sink, or the same place that your washing machine would plug into. And these are a couple of adapters actually for this faucet setting. And this is a shutoff valve for the RO tubing. So if you have it kind of hard plumbed, you can easily just turn this fitting right here and it'll shut off supply and turn off your RO unit. And this is a saddle, a drain saddle I believe is what it's called, and that's mainly used for permanent hookup for the waistline. You just kind of drill a hole into the waistline underneath your sink and allows you to plug in the tubing there and tight fit. And this is also a copper pipe fitting. So this is actually going to puncture a hole inside of copper piping and allow you to plug in your RO unit there if you have copper piping. I never really liked that method because it's kind of permanent and there's no easy way to cover that hole reliably afterwards in the copper piping if you ever want to remove it. And second, this is for the supply line if you're going to be setting up a more permanent situation underneath the sink. So you just plug this into the part where your cold water comes in, and then your cold water to your faucet would go up here, and then cold water to our unit come out that end. And it looks like the last piece that we got in here is the instruction manual for the unit itself. So this is probably going to be the largest box we're going to open today. So let's go ahead and find out what's inside. Like a ton of packing peanuts, so this is going to be a nightmare to get out, it looks like. Okay, let's see if we can find something to stuff these inside of. Originally I was going to pull a whole bag out of here, but I think it's going to be much easier if I pull this out a piece at a time. Looks like this bag has already been busted open before they started packing. We'll get some tape on. Alrighty. So this is my dry rock that I'm going to be curing for a while before I put it into my tank. And this is actually the Pecani dry rock from Reef Supply. box really smells like the ocean. Definitely seems like a good amount of dry rock. Of course, this is also my first aquarium, so, or saltwater aquarium that is, so we'll find out if that's the case. Seems like mainly all that we got left are little rubble pieces, which should be useful in filling gaps and making the aquascape look nice. Alright, so this is what I'm looking at right now. I think this looks pretty cool. Obviously I'd have it so the third of the aquarium would meet up right there, but this is just a general idea. Obviously, once I get the aquarium and I have everything set up, I can work a little bit more on the actual aquascape. But now let's get these rocks inside of a bucket full of salt water, and we'll heat it up and mix it up so we can start curing this rock. Alright, so there's a mix up with the video recording for setting up the system. Basically I just unpackaged everything. I'm using the sink diverter valve. So that plugged in, it's currently feeding into the red tube, which goes into the input, which then is feeding through this system with the wastewater going out the black line, which is currently just stuck in the drain line for the sink. Then the blue line goes into the left-hand side of the DI canister, goes through between the two, comes out this other blue tube, and they say to just get rid of the first hour of the system from the water. So I just have that feeding in the drain as well. We have the TDS reader. Let's see what we're currently getting. Looks like we're getting high 90s coming in right now for the TDS creep, but it is going down. What's coming out of the system is currently 0. And the second stage is 0, which is what I'd expect as well. We'll check on that a little later and see how the RI is doing. It seems that my system actually has pretty high pressure, so I should be getting pretty decent waste to product water level. Looks like the system's still filling up at this point. So I'll tune back in once it's been running for an hour. Alright, now that we got this run through its first hour for the water that we're just going to throw away, next step is going to be actually going in here and rinsing off my dry rock. Try to get all that dust off of it and any large pieces of sponge or anything like that that I can find. And then we're going to put it into here once it's been cleaned. And we'll fill it up with salt water and let it cure. Alright, that's about as clean as I care to get them before they start to process. You can see all of the sand and little rock rubble that came out. Now I'm just waiting on the RO filter. Let's finish its 1 hour purge, and we can start filling this up, get some salt water in it, and get this curing process started. Alright, so a little bit of change in plans. I went ahead and moved the rock into the trash can. And I mainly did that so I could go ahead and clean out the bathtub and I didn't have to worry about my cats getting into it. So, once it's in the trash can, I can just grab this lid and don't have to worry about the cats getting into it. So looking like I'm going to have to head out for a little bit before this is going to be done and doing its hour cycle. So, once I get back, I'll go ahead and start using some of these 5-gallon buckets I have to mix up the salt water. Alright, check in later. Alright, so I'm coming back and now I'm going to go ahead and start pouring some water into my buckets so I can start getting this rock curing. Let's go ahead and get this down to the RO unit. And then I'm going to run the flush kit for 2 minutes as recommended. And it's going to go down through there. So I'm going to treat it like I'd be using it once I start just using it for water changes. So I'll be back once we're starting to fill up the bucket. Alright, so it's been running for a couple minutes. So let's go ahead and switch the valve to get the water. Actually have the restrictor valve running. We'll take the product water line and put it in the bucket. Don't really trust this line, so let's see if we can. There we go. That should keep it in place fairly well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what our TDS is reading. So it looks like we got about 10 going in. And 0 coming out. That looks like it might still be coming down a little bit. Alright, good deal. I'll be filling up these buckets, mixing some salt water, and pouring it into here. Alright, so we're still waiting on the water to pour into the bucket. So I thought we would go ahead and take a look at the salt. I did get the the smaller size to start off with. I know it won't be enough salt for when I actually go to fill up my tank, but it'll be plenty to actually get the rock curing. So let's see how we take this apart. Looks like we just got a little pull tab. And it should just start peeling off. Alright. So it looks like we got the salt inside of the other bag, which is good in case the bucket actually ends up breaking. And there we go. There's some Red Sea coral rock salt. I'll be reporting back whenever it's time to start mixing. Alright, looks like we're getting to a good point where I can go ahead and grab this line. I went ahead and got a pump sitting in there already, just to kind of get ahead of the game. Okay, so I know you're supposed to let this water get up in temperature before adding the salt. However, since we're just curing some live rock, I'm not too worried about the actual salinity. I just want to get it in the ballpark range. So let's go ahead and grab some. Seems like a good amount to start with. Now, I've never mixed water for saltwater aquarium, so I have no idea how much I need to add. But I can always easily adjust it by adding more water. this run for a couple minutes until it starts looking a whole lot clearer, and then I'll test the salinity using the hydrometer. Alrighty, so I ended up adding another half cup, and that appears to have brought it up to correct salinity. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it in here, and then continue that process until we got the water level up to the top of this rock. Be back soon. Alright, I just wanted to go ahead and show off the aquarium that I currently have. It is an Innovative Marine 20-gallon aquarium, currently housing some freshwater fish, a pearl gourami, and about 19 neon tetras and a few nearite snails. I was originally going to stick with Innovative Marine brand, but I don't really like the whole setup with the sump in the back. I don't like the fact that it severely limits your options as far as protein skimmers and reactors. And basically Innovative Marine's Ghost Skimmer doesn't have very good reviews anywhere I looked, so I kind of wanted to stay away from that. I do like the clean lines of the Red Sea series, especially the Reefer with the open top and the Starfire glass. So I say I'll probably be sticking with that line. I did consider the Max 260, I believe it is, but that runs into some of the issues that I don't like about this aquarium as well, with the sump being in back and all the internals being stored back there. I know you can get an upgrade kit to put a sump below it, but by the time you get to that, it ends up basically just being the same thing as a Red Sea Reefer, so I didn't see much point with that. If y'all have any other suggestions for aquariums, I'd greatly appreciate it, but I say the 250 would probably be the aquarium for me. At this point, I'm probably going to be doing an EIM Compact 3000 for the return pump, and a Reef Octopus 150, the Space Saver version of that inside of as a skimmer. I don't plan on running a refrigium, and I do not plan on running any kind of reactors. I'll probably just be throwing a bag of the carbon into the sump and just letting that kind of passively work and clean up some of the larger organic bark. Alright, stay tuned for some more. Alright, got the bucket filled up with water, and I got the salt at 35 parts per thousand. So I'll plug everything in. Already got a couple of circulation pumps running. Just gotta plug in the heater and we should be good to go. Alright, catch y'all in the next video.